Master Claude Sirius is one of the 10 first-class magicians in the world. It is said that his magic can even move the stars. At the age of 17, he was chosen as a professor to teach at the Diana Academy. He dedicated himself to training the next generation, becoming a promising young leader, but then he mysteriously disappeared. One day, a girl named Speka was seen trying to fly using her magic. Unfortunately, she still couldn't use magic, so she fell off a cliff. She was laughed at by her friend named Arya. Even though they are friends, they compete with each other to become stronger. While they were together, Arya was always above Speka, so she often made fun of her. But Spisa never gave up. She dreamed of entering the Diana Academy. She idolized Claude and wanted to become the #1 magician, but Arya mocked her again and reminded her not to dream too high. Besides, many rumors were spreading that Claude ran away in fear when the cult attacked 2 years ago, and then he disappeared. Spika never cared about those rumors. She was determined that she wanted to become like Claude. Arya then reminded her again that Spisa wouldn't be able to use magic if there was no magician to teach her. Spika already knew that, but what could she do? She didn't have much money or connections to pay for a tutor. Arya offered to help teach her, showing off the Aquarius magic she possessed to make Spisa feel even more inferior. But Spika felt too proud. Besides, Arya would definitely just make fun of her, so Spisa tried to learn on her own, even though she would face many difficulties. On top of her house, Spika once again practiced flying using a magic broom. She then fell, and the broken piece of her broom was thrown into the bushes where a black cat was sleeping. The black cat got angry at Spika and told her to practice somewhere else. Without realizing it, Spika understood what the black cat was saying. She was confused. Was it because she could already use magic, or was the black cat some kind of spirit? Hearing Spika's words, the cat immediately got angry and used Sagittarius magic on her. The black cat then explained that it used to be a magician. However, due to something, it was cursed into becoming a black cat. Fortunately, it didn't lose its magical abilities. Seeing someone who could use magic, Spika immediately begged the black cat to teach her. No matter if it was human or animal, she said she really wanted to enter the Diana Academy. Without thinking, the black cat immediately refused. It felt that teaching Spika would bring no benefit to itself. However, Spika kept insisting while whining to be taught. Confidently, she said that if the black cat was willing to teach her, she would do anything it asked. Hearing that offer, the black cat suddenly had a good idea. It thought there was no harm in trying to teach Spika. After all, only Spika could communicate with it. Finally, the black cat decided to help Spika learn magic. Hearing that, Spika felt relieved. First, the black cat took her to the royal capital. It then told Spika to raise one hand while saying the spell, "I order beer." Several glasses of beer appeared, and it turned out they were standing right in a bar area. Seeing the black cat happily finishing all the beer, Spika became furious and even made the black cat feel scared. It then intended to give Spika a task that would be impossible for her to complete. The goal was to make Spika give up learning magic. While they were talking, Spika realized that only she could interact with the black cat. The black cat then took Spika into the royal library because her task this time was related to books. There were countless spell books. Spika's task this time was to find the most legendary spell book, the Book of Fate, which knew everything in the world. The black cat needed it because it wanted to know how to break its curse. Spika was only given 1 month to find the Book of Fate. If she failed, the black cat would not teach her magic. Of course, this was impossible for Spika to check tens of thousands of spell books in the royal library one by one, especially without anyone's help. The black cat said it actually wanted to help, but unfortunately the library alarm would go off if a non-human took the books. Everything came back to Spika's decision. She could give up if she felt she couldn't do it. With a face full of determination, Spika answered that she would not give up. Spika began taking action, picking up spellbooks one by one. The black cat watched from a distance, convinced that Spika was only wasting her time. Deep down, it also didn't want a student who would only trouble it. The difficulties didn't stop there. Spika had to be careful because there were types of spellbooks that could activate spells on their own. This made Spika accidentally trigger spells just by reading them. Because of that, the black cat was sure that Spika wouldn't last more than 3 days. But its guess was wrong. Spika kept coming to the library every day with enthusiasm until day 29. She even went as far as learning ancient language because she thought the Book of Fate might be written in ancient text. The black cat was impressed by Spika's persistence. But unfortunately, the library bell rang, signaling that Spika had failed her task this time. Hearing that, Spika immediately begged sincerely for more time. Seeing Spisa remain stubborn, the black cat became curious why she was so determined to enter the Diana Academy. Spica explained that she wanted to become the #1 magician like Claude. She didn't care even though many rumors said that Claude was just a coward who ran away in fear and abandoned his students when the cult attacked 2 years ago. Spica said that she was actually not far away when the cult attacked. Many people were killed around her, but fortunately, she was saved by Claude. Since that incident, she began to idolize Claude as a hero who always protects others. But the Black Cat didn't care about Spica's reasons. According to their initial agreement, Spica would be considered a failure if she didn't find the Book of Fate within 1 month. Besides, protecting others brought no benefit. It thought that Spica's dream was only for fools. As the Black Cat started to leave, Spica realized that the giant book displayed in the middle of the royal library was not just decoration. There was a spell on its cover written in ancient language. When Spica read the spell, the book opened and revealed a dimension inside it. Without wasting time, the Black Cat took Spica inside, convinced that the Book of Fate was stored there. Inside, there were many secret spell books and national treasures. While looking around, the Book of Fate called out to them. It turned out that the Book of Fate was not a book, but a monument. Spica immediately asked how to break the curse that afflicted the Black Cat. The Book of Fate explained that the Black Cat was under a reincarnation curse, a forbidden magic that reincarnates a body into another creature. Its body disappeared, leaving only its soul. There was only one way to break the curse, which was through Spica's power, the rebirth magic. It turned out that Spica had possessed that special power all along without realizing it. No wonder she always healed quickly whenever she was injured. To break the Black Cat's curse, Spica had to inject her mana into the Black Cat's body through a kiss. Spica felt embarrassed because she had never even kissed anyone before, but the Book of Fate said that what Spica had to kiss was not the mouth, but the butt. Hearing that, both of them were shocked and refused. They became even more shocked when they saw a guard arrive. However, the guard didn't intend to capture them. He informed them that the place was under attack. And indeed, a two-headed demonic beast named Orthrus appeared, controlled by cult followers. The Black Cat didn't expect that some cult followers still remained after being suppressed by the royal army. Their arrival was likely to search for forbidden books. The Black Cat and Spica ran away while waiting for the capital's forces to arrive. However, Orthrus's power was truly brutal. The Black Cat intended to use Spica as bait while it escaped. Of course, Spica refused. Therefore, the Black Cat had one solution. It could defeat Orthrus if it were in human form. It asked Spica to break its curse. But Spica refused again because she was unwilling. She even said she would rather die than kiss the Black Cat's butt. Hearing that, the Black Cat was disappointed because Spica had betrayed her own words, saying she would do anything the Black Cat asked. Hearing that response, Spica fell silent and reflected. She wondered if she was really all talk like the Black Cat said. In the middle of her thoughts, Orthrus attacked Spica with a powerful fire technique. Fortunately, the Black Cat blocked Orthrus's attack using its Sagittarius magic, a whirlwind technique, the same move Claude used when saving Spica before. The Black Cat then threw Spica away, sending her far so she could escape from Orthrus. Spica stood still. She didn't want to just be saved by others. She also wanted to become someone who saves others. Therefore, she decided she would do anything to become the #1 powerful magician. She quickly returned to help the Black Cat, who had already collapsed due to Orthrus's fire magic. In the midst of the flames, she finally gave the Black Cat a kiss. Instantly, the Black Cat transformed into a human. It turned out he was Claude, one of the #1 magicians in the world. He felt relieved after being a cat for 2 years. Without wasting time, Claude unleashed an ice arrow technique that froze Orthrus completely, rendering it immobile. The cult follower controlling it finally decided to retreat. Meanwhile, Spica still couldn't believe that the annoying Black Cat was actually her idol all along. That meant the part she had just kissed belonged to her idol. After returning to human form, Claude felt that Spica was no longer useful to him, so he canceled their agreement and prepared to leave. But suddenly, Claude transformed back into a Black Cat. Immediately, he begged Spica, saying that the agreement had not been cancelled. Claude then got angry at the Book of Fate for feeling deceived. The Book of Fate explained that Claude turned back into a cat because Spica's mana level was still low. If the curse level and the person breaking it were different, the curse couldn't be fully broken. That meant Claude had to train Spica to become a first-class magician like himself. Realizing that their interests were connected, Claude finally declared that he was Spica's teacher. He would train Spica until she became the #1 magician as she desired. From now on, Spica had to call him teacher. The next morning, Claude wakes Spica from her sweet dream. Spica, who usually is still asleep in the morning, will now always be busy because of training. First, Claude explains about magic affinity. There are 12 types of magic that every person has from birth, and no one can use magic outside of their affinity. That is why Spica cannot use flying magic, because flying magic belongs to the Sagittarius and Taurus affinities, while Spica is a Virgo. Claude explains that Virgo is ruled by Demeter, the goddess of fertility. It is plant magic. Spica can make plants grow and stretch without limits. Spica then asks whether reincarnation magic, like what is said in the Book of Fate, is one of Virgo's magic. Claude answers that reincarnation magic does not belong to any magic affinity. That means Spica has a special magic talent from birth. Claude tells Spica not to learn it for now. Spica must even keep her special magic a secret from anyone. The training begins. Claude tells Spica to grow a small plant. Claude compares activating magic to a machine. The magic wand is what focuses the mana in the body into one point. Chanting a spell is the button that activates the magic. Then the last is imagining something she wants to do with her magic. Spica begins focusing her mana and chanting magic, then imagining that the small plant in front of her will grow, and it works. This is the first time Spica can use magic. But instead of praising Spica, Claude says that this is the basic of someone being able to use magic. Besides, Claude's goal is still very far, which is to make Spica become a first-class mage. Spica feels disappointed because she feels she at least deserves praise for her first success. Because she thinks too much about getting praise from Claude, Spica forgets to stop her magic. As a result, she gets entangled by her own plant magic. Seeing Spica struggling with her own magic, Claude realizes that Spica is the most foolish student he has ever had during his time as a teacher. Until the afternoon, Spica's ears feel hot because Claude keeps belittling her. There is not a single word of praise or comfort that can calm Spica's heart. Not long after, Spica receives bad news that her mother has just fallen from the stairs, which causes her leg to break. Her mother is forced to tell Spica to take care of their orange plantation, the Virgo plantation. Spica feels burdened because she has to prepare for the entrance exam to the Diana Academy. However, Claude tells Spica to follow her mother's wishes. Besides, how can Spica register for the Diana Academy if she does not have money because of a failed harvest? Claude also tells Spica to take care of the orange plantation for the next 6 months when the registration will be held. Spica must maximize her Virgo magic. In the first attempt, Spica can pull oranges closer to her so she does not have to bother climbing trees. However, her power is too strong because Spica still cannot control her power. In February, when harvesting oranges, Spica is still learning to control her power. March and April are the time for pruning. Spica must trim excessive branches to improve the quality of photosynthesis. There are still many things Spica has to do in taking care of her orange plantation with the help of magic, starting from protecting the trees from the weather, driving away birds and pests, and preparing for the next harvest. Various things have been done by Spica. Claude does not teach her anything. Claude only wants Spica to focus on taking care of her garden every day, until finally 6 months have passed. One day before the exam begins, Spica is already seen mastering her magic related to caring for and harvesting oranges. Because of that, her plantation can produce many oranges with good quality. Besides that, every job done by workers can be completed by Spica herself in a short time. Unfortunately, she feels inferior because she can only chant one spell, which is anima. She doubts whether she can enter the Diana Academy if she can only chant one spell. Claude himself also does not know. Because the Diana Academy exam always changes every year, the chance is only 10% for prospective students to pass. So luck is also one of the factors. The next day, Arya underestimates Spica as usual. She says how Spica can pass if she only has one magic to grow plants. Spica does not respond. She only answers that luck will be on her side, even though in her heart, Spica feels very pessimistic. The exam participants are picked up by a vehicle provided by the Diana Academy. The large number of participants makes Spica feel even less confident. However, Arya calms her down and says how Spica can pass if she is already afraid before the exam. During the trip, suddenly a landslide occurs that blocks the road. Then it is followed by the appearance of a golem monster that attacks the participant's vehicle. Without Spica knowing, Claude is actually hiding in her bag. Claude then explains that the golem monster is a clay statue controlled by a mage. Now, the golem monster seems to be targeting the students. Arya then steps forward to the front line and challenges the golem monster. She uses her Aquarius magic, Hydro Cannon. That magic is very strong, so it makes the golem monster shatter into pieces. Although strong, the magic requires a lot of mana from its user. Unfortunately, the golem monster can still reassemble its body pieces and return to its original form. Fortunately, Spica has learned a lot about control magic in the library, so she knows how to destroy the monster. She is sure that if the core of the golem monster's heart is destroyed, then the golem monster will not be able to rise again. And it is true, there is a stone with the writing Emeth inside the golem monster's body. According to what Spica learned, the writing Emeth must have its first letter removed to become Meth. Spica only intends to tell Arya to erase the writing, but Claude says that Spica must also fight if she really wants to become a first-class mage. Moreover, how could Spica let her best friend risk her life? Hearing that, Spica throws away her fear and rushes to help her friend. Arya thinks that Spica will not be able to help because she only has one useless magic, but Spica insists on helping. She also tells Arya about the weakness of the golem monster, so Arya must destroy the golem monster's body like before. Unfortunately, Arya cannot do it because her mana is not enough. The golem monster continues its attack on the participants. Not only that, it also blocks the way back, so the participants are trapped and cannot go anywhere. Spica then throws orange seeds, then grows them into long plants that bind the golem monster's body so it cannot move. Seeing Spica's power, Arya is shocked. It turns out that is Claude's goal all along. He tells Spica to work alone in her large garden every day to build stamina and control of her magic by specializing in one type of magic. Seeing Spica's ability, Arya feels heated because she feels rivaled. The golem monster that is being bound suddenly breaks apart and launches a counterattack on Spica. Even though the Emeth writing is visible again, Spica cannot do anything because the golem monster attacks repeatedly. Fortunately, Arya releases an aqua ball magic to protect Spica. That way there is space for Spica to move and attack the core of the golem monster. Spica does not want to waste that opportunity. With her remaining mana, she lengthens her plant and then moves it like a whip toward the Emeth writing. And it works. The letter E is separated. Instantly, the golem monster is completely destroyed. Not long after, several mages appear from the top of the cliff. Spica gets angry. She challenges the mages who have attacked the participants, but it turns out they are the higher-ups of the Diana Academy. There is even a dean there named Justice Libra. Justice Libra explains that this is a surprise test from the Diana Academy. The purpose is to observe the participants' attitudes in facing threats. That is because the Diana Academy prioritizes purity of heart. So, he wants to make sure that the participants have the courage to save themselves and others. And the first person declared to pass is Arya because she dares to step forward on the front line, and her level of magic is also perfect. The second is Spica, because she is willing to save others. She also uses her intelligence to defeat the golem monster. After declaring Arya and Spica's passing, Justice leaves. On the other side, Arya does feel happy about her passing, but she also feels rivaled by Spica, who can no longer be underestimated. Meanwhile, Spica, who is happy with her passing, is once again made disappointed because Claude does not praise her. Claude instead says that this is just the start, so there is nothing to be proud of. However, one thing that makes Claude impressed is Spica's courage to not choose to run away. Spica deserves that praise. Hearing that one praise, Spica blushes. She does not expect that her dozens of disappointments toward Claude will disappear with just one praise from him. It cannot be denied, Spica also would not be able to reach this point without guidance from Claude. And that is the story of this part. Do not forget to like and subscribe so you do not miss the next part. Bye.